All right, so Bethel drinking culture. Bethel drinking culture is almost celebrated, kind of expected. And there's a lot of cultural rules that we had while we were there. I when I was 20, so I was not legally able to drink, so I had to wait until I turned 21, and so that was kind of a big deal, and it is a big deal for all of us when we turn 21 at Bethel. Before you turn 21 at Bethel, you're not allowed to hang out with certain guys. Certain guys will not hang out with you. They don't want any problems. They don't want to have to supervise you. And then, of course, we're in the city. You can't get into places. And we did get into places when we turned 21. Um, you're not allowed to go. Well, some guys just wouldn't hang out with you because you were 21. And I had an overseer who was a little younger. He used to say, "Yeah, we'll hang out when you could break bread with me," which meant when you could drink with me. So um, you were looking forward to that time when you were legal. And so was Bethel because you um, would be invited when you were turning 21 to a special one on one talk with usually one of the cooler brothers in your department who would give you the um, policy on you know what Bethel felt about drinking, um, and tell you what some of the pitfalls could be from indulging in alcohol. Um, and they called that your 21 talk. And so when your department or your friends knew that you're turning 21, um, usually that morning you would get a call. Everyone would kind of know. At least in my department, we all had breakfast together in my department. So you get a call, hey, we'd like to meet with you about you know something at such and such a time. And usually everyone knew when you were about to turn 21, and it was almost like a celebration. Of the fact that you were turning 21. It was your 21st birthday. Everyone knew what day that was. And so even sometimes you would get a round of applause knowing that, after breakfast you were going to have your 21 talk. And so we had a really cool brother give us our 21 talk. He went through the lowdown, did the little outline. It was about a half hour. And then after that he said, "Any questions?" That was your opportunity to ask him anything. And usually that brother was a pretty good mixologist, and he would tell you about what not to mix with what. Don't mix light with dark. Um, this goes good with that. Don't drink this much in this many hours. This is what happens if you get a little tipsy. Do not go out on your birthday, not because it's your birthday, but because you may overdrink. So yeah, that was a real thing. So then I just talked to you about the Gilead graduation celebration. Um, that is an official Bethel celebration on Wednesday. And of course, I don't know too many Bethelites that did not have a dry bar in their apartment. Almost everybody had pretty extensive dry bar. And we all knew where to get the cheapest wine and liquor in the city, plenty of places that we all knew. And of course, you'd gift each other something or whatever, and that's just how it was. Drinking culture was not really that big of a deal to me. I'm not big on getting drunk and stuff like that. Um, Even now, I'm not. But it was for some guys. Some guys didn't know how to hold their liquor. That's the bottom line. Some guys that didn't know how to overindulge and hide it. Did have to learn how to hide it. Um, Everybody's hiding something about. More on that later. And again, drinking at Bethel was just kind of just went hand in hand. And if you had a drinking problem, Bethel was not a good place for you to be. I did not encounter too much of that. Uh, this wasn't my experience. I do handle my liquor pretty well, and so um, I would usually only be around guys that did, and we knew the problem guys, so we just kind of avoided them because we didn't want any problems. Again, You don't want to put your shit with somebody else's shit because if you put your shit together, then all you go down at once. So keep your shit to yourself. At Brooklyn, we did a pretty good job at that. Again, we were neighbors to the governing body. We were not about to put that kind of reputation on ourselves. Um, but again, it was just part of the culture. We were we we drank, and it to me, it's not a big deal. It was not a big deal for me. I didn't necessarily think it was anything more excessive than you know anywhere else that I had seen. Um, but yeah, a couple funny stories. I once saw a branch committee member coming in through the parking lot in one of the basements of the office building in the middle of the night, and he had like a cooler full of really bad beer, and not the beer itself, the liquid, but like the he was going through the door and it fell over, and then me and my friend kind of looked up, and this was one of the stricter branch committee members, and it was just like these beer cans all over the tunnel because we were in the tunnel complex. And I'm looking at it, and I just looked at my friend. I looked at him. I was like, "Don't say anything. Just act like you didn't see anything." And the brother looked up at us, and he goes, "Okay." Just picked up his beer and walked out. You had to be there, I guess. Anyway, the other thing was now things have changed. Hmm. Before in other branches, we knew that in their commissary, by the way, our commissary was like a corner store. We could go and get anything we needed. That was incidental. It was a convenience store. Everybody has a Bethel number. It's kind of like a social security number that you type in, and then you put your personal bank account. Um, you put your personal bank account um, attached to that number as well as everything else. Anyway, when you go to the commissary or the convenience store, you type that in and whatever. And in that convenience store, you had anything you would see at a normal corner store at a gas station or something like that. But in our USA branch, we did not have alcohol because the legal drinking age was 21. So we didn't have alcohol in our commissary. You go to Italy branch, they did, or other branches that had lower drinking ages. I don't know about Canada, but I think it was the same there too because their drinking age I think is 18. Um, Here we did not. Now that changed during COVID. I don't know what possessed them to do this, but there is now a what's called a beverage room or beverage center at Bethel. It is separate from the commissary. It is next to the commissary. There's also what's called a food pantry that was not there when I was there full time before. So in addition to your convenience store, you also have free food, and then you also have alcohol to purchase. It is a very nondescript room. It is again right next to the commissary and the food pantry, and it is filled with alcohol for purchase. I don't know why they did that. I don't know if it was good or a bad thing. It didn't start until COVID. I was not there in COVID. I saw it as a commuter after COVID. So I did see it with my own two eyes. Obviously, I couldn't take any pictures of that. But I thought, what a horrible time to put a liquor room into Bethel during COVID. Nah, I don't know about that one. But yeah, one of those things that you kind of look back and like, what were they thinking here? So anyway, that'd be the last segment for today because it's getting late. And I think the next segment we're going to talk about the people at Bethel, which is the worst part of Bethel.